can just see you all pouring in. There's some lovely, lovely faces that I know. How lovely to see you, and new faces. It's wonderful, wonderful. So, and little hearts coming up, because this is about the heart, isn't it? This is why we're here. So I'm going to just start with a couple of little technical things. Could you please, so I see that I'm speaking, but Joe is on the screen. That's very strange. I don't know what we can do about that, David.
I'm on the screen?
No, not you. Hi. Nice to see you. No, not you, Joe. It's fine.
Do you want gallery view? Is that what you're after, Faye? Because
No,
if you go top
it's
right,
fine. It's fine. I'll carry on.
We can see you, so
you can see me. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So, just to say, I'm so delighted to welcome you all here for the Feast of Mary Magdalene. The little practical things are: could you make sure that your audio is off until a time when we may be sharing? Because there's going to be a lot of people here. We're completely sold out because so many hearts are now open to the teachings and the energy of Mary Magdalene. And that's why we're gathered here tonight. I'm going to just light a candle now. This candle was used on Sunday at the Manchester Monastery, where we had a wonderful celebration of Mary Magdalene. So I brought it here, and the light that I've lit represents the unity of all beings, the unity of the one love of the source that unites us all. And tonight, or today, wherever you are in the world, on this day of the feast, we call in the particular ray of light that is Mary Magdalene, that is this great woman of courage, of wisdom, of love, of radical leadership. And may our hearts be open to receive what it is we need to go out into this great world of beauty and pain and truly give out her love. So we're here to, as well, raise funds for Joe Blake's The Witness, which is a most wonderful piece for those who may not yet have seen it. It's really a completely heart-opening piece of storytelling, dance, movement, and we're so delighted that we've been able to raise funds to help with the tour, because it needs to get out there to more and more people. So is there anything you'd like to add to this intro, David?
You said a lot there. Yeah, I think you've covered everything. Technical, just very warm welcome to everyone. What was going through my mind then was 4 years ago, in the build up to the feast day 4 years ago, I'd asked a bishop, a Church of England bishop, I said, what's the chances of one line of the Gospel of Mary being read out in one Church of England church on her feast day? And he said, no, that's not going to happen. So this is a reaction to that, isn't it? And then I was also remembering the in-bulk retreat that we had down in Dorset, where there was 3 women interfaith ministers reading the Gospel of Mary out from the pulpits in the chapel of Mary Magdalene near Hillfield in Dorset. Yeah, bring it on. It's great.
Yeah.
So
yes, this is radical love in action. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to hand over to you now, David, to read the Gospel of Mary.
Thank you. Yeah, I will. So we're going to take it in turns sort of through the evening to sort of read the Gospel out. We've divided it into 4. So I'm going to read the first couple of pages. Well, the first couple of pages that we have, because the first 6 pages are missing from the Gospel still. So we come in on page 7. And the disciples asked, "Teach us about the material world. Will it last forever, or is everything impermanent?" And the Saviour answered, "All that is created, everything that is formed, every natural thing, all exist interdependently in and with each other. And then each will be dissolved again back into its own roots. It is the way of nature that everything will eventually decompose back into its own elements. Those who have ears, let them hear." And Peter said to him, "While you are explaining everything to us, tell us one more thing. What is the sin of the world?" And the Saviour answered, "There is no such thing as sin. You only make it appear when you act according to the habits of your adulterated nature. That's how what you call sin manifests. And this is why the good has come into your midst, pursuing the good which is in everyone's true nature, to restore it inward to its root." Then he continued, saying, "This is what sickens and destroys you. It's your love for the things that deceive you. Those who have ears, let them hear. Whoever can understand, let them understand. Attachment to matter gives rise to incomparable suffering because it goes against your true nature. And then the whole body becomes disturbed. This is why I taught you to find contentment at the level of the heart. When you feel disturbed and out of balance, reclaim wholeness in the presence of all the different forms of your true nature. Those who have ears, let them hear." When the Blessed One had said these things, he embraced them all and took his leave, saying, "Peace be with you. Cultivate my peace within yourselves. Be vigilant and don't let anyone lead you astray by saying, 'Here it is,' or 'There it is.' For the Son of Man, the child of your true humanity, already lives within each one of you. And this is what you should follow. I tell you, those who seek this within will surely find it. Go then and proclaim the gospel of the kingdom. Do not lay down any rules other than what I have given you, and do not establish more laws like the lawmaker, or else you too will become constrained by them." Once he'd said these things, he departed from them. So, yeah, that's like the first couple of pages that we have. And then I thought I would say something. I was asked to give a talk last year sometime on Gospel of Mary, and I was asked two questions. What is the Gospel of Mary, for someone that's never heard of it before, and why does it matter? I think they're great questions. I like that. So that's what I'm going to speak to. And I'm not going to massively do sort of PowerPointy stuff to you, but I do just want to share a picture of the Gospel so you get to see what it looks like. So bear with me while I sort the technical wherewithal out. Come on, behave. Oh, back a page. There we go. Is that Joe, Faye? Can you see that? Is that yeah? So I'm thinking about what is the Gospel of Mary, answering that, and in one of I've come up with 6 sort of labels or categories that will help to give a handle on it. And one of the things is it's a historic document. It's a historic document that was. It's a text that was lost to the world for 1,600 years and then rediscovered. And there's been 3 or more fragments that found. This one, which is the Berlin Codex, was discovered in 1896 with a lovely story that goes that it was wrapped in feathers and tucked into a crack in a cemetery wall and then made its way to an antiques dealer in Cairo, and then forms the Berlin Codex. A codex means like it's an early form of a book. This was the pages are written on papyrus, and this was written in Coptic, which is early Egyptian. And so that's what the cover looks like, sort of tooled leather. And then there's a page of it, and you can see just how small it is from the centimetre rule placed next to it. And that there's these sort of gaps, and these lacuna, there's these sort of holes in the text. And so there's been sort of much work done over the years to work out, what are the missing letters. And then so that was the Berlin Codex. And then there's been a couple of major fragments found on a rubbish tip, on a 4th century rubbish tip in Oxyrhynchus in Egypt. And these are Greek fragments. So here's one of those pages. Here's a group of people digging away at the archaeological site at Oxyrhynchus, which is literally a ancient rubbish tip. And then here, incredibly, is a collection of fragments of papyrus that then people have gone through to, and some of it will be shopping lists and some of it's accounts. And then there's the odd gem, like the Gospel of Mary. But it's one label I give it. It's a historic document, and I like that. I like that it has a certain authority. It has a certain independence. I haven't just made this up. I'm sharing something with you that you can all go and look up and validate and make your own relationship with. I think that's what's really important to me is not what I think about it. I like to introduce the Gospel of Mary for you to make a relationship with it, and that's where it comes to life. This is powerful, transformative work for you to make a relationship, not just to listen to what I say about it. Another category, so I've got 6 categories. I like to think of it as terma. There's a Tibetan Buddhist tradition of terma, which was of taking, particularly teachings of Padmasambhava, were written down and they were intentionally hidden. They were hidden in cracks in rock crevices or in caves or buried in the ground, with the understanding that these are teachings that were written to be rediscovered at such a time as the world is ready to receive them, or teachings which are buried to be rediscovered at such time as the world needs them. And in both categories, I'd say the Gospel of Mary it's the text for our day. It's the text for our era. I like to think about the fine tuning that happened with that, because it's like it was discovered in 1896, and then there was a translation sort of at the publishers ready to print, which then got destroyed by a burst water pipe, and then it was years before we first had translations available in 1955. So kind of commensurate with the start of some of the start of the phases of the women's movement, of feminism. So I think it's taken that for the world to be ready to hear the gospel in a way that it was silenced for years. So I think of it as terma, as a buried treasure that's been rediscovered at a time when the world needs it, and at a time when the world's ready to hear it. And actually, my Buddhist teacher, Rinpoche Tulku Rinpoche, he taught on the Gospel of Mary, and he was like, yes, this is terma. This is a hidden heart treasure that has come to light at a time when the world needs it. And then another Buddhist category that I'd give to you to sort of consider it as, there's a thing called pith instructions in the world of Tibetan Buddhism. So a teacher will give teaching after teaching after teaching and transmissions throughout their life, their career, and then towards the end of their life, they'll give a concentrated, focused version of their teachings, like in a page or two, and that's called the pith instructions. And if we think of what Yeshua has done here, and of what we're receiving through the God, it is so concentrated. The Gospel of Mary is so concentrated, and yet it's like the TARDIS. It's so much bigger on the inside than the outside. I've been working with this for years and continually finding new meaning. So it's a pith instruction. It's concentrated essence of teaching and transmission. Next category is from I've loads of respect for Sarah Parkhouse, who has written several books on the subject of. She's an academic. She's based in Manchester at the moment, and she categorises the Gospel of Mary as a counter narrative. She thinks of it as it's a non-conformist. Sorry, that's my phrase. It's a heterodox would be her phrase. A heterodox work which knows itself to be from the sidelines. This was speaking to what was developing as the early formations of what became the Orthodox, with a small O, church, and this was giving the other side of the story. This was giving the side of the story from the sidelines, from Mary Magdalene's tradition, which was getting sidelined, which was eventually silenced, and she was disclaimed as a prostitute, as an act of discrediting her. So it's a counter narrative. And one of the joys of that is that we've got something that's not edited. We've got something that is, as it was, buried in the desert 1600 years ago. And so there's a freshness to it, but it's not been edited by I have feelings about, like, after Constantine, after 315, Christianity became the tool of empire in many ways. It became it was turned from what was started out as a religion for slaves and women and the underdogs in society, and it became the religion of the Roman emperor. And boy, did its values change. And so what we've got here is a clear, authentic, historic window and insight into a woman-based version of Christianity that predates Constantine, and that's powerful. That's massive for me. Another category I've got comes from another scholar, Deb Saxon. Deb Saxon was looking at partly at how sort of the Gospel of Mary and other texts from that time sort of sit within Greek thought and popular philosophy and culture of the time. And she thinks of it as a manual of the care of the self, the care of the emotional heart, the care, how do we care for our emotional selves? And she reads in the Gospel of Mary a sort of manual on speaking truth to power, on standing up to authorities, be they internal authorities of the things that control us, the puppet strings that control us in our lives, or be that external authorities. And this, she calls it paresia, the principle of speaking truth to power. I come with a Quaker background, and speaking truth to power is a big thing amongst Quakers. And yeah, I see particularly what's happening in the vision sequence, how there's this practice of dialoguing, of standing up to face authorities that are accusing the soul, and the soul is not being pushed around. The soul is standing up and facing authority and dialoguing with it, and refusing to be subordinate. And as such, what a practice. I mean, this is a practice of liberation, it's a practice of empowerment. And you can imagine not a practice that would have been very welcomed by the forces that be in the Roman Empire. And then one more category for you, one more label to what is the gospel. It's the only known gospel attributed to a woman. That's massive. Why does it matter? I mean, there's one good reason why it matters, I think. Yeah, the second half of my talk, I said, what is the Gospel of Mary? Why does it matter? Pondering that question, why does it matter? I mean, there's a sense of matter to who. I think why it matters to you is for you to discover. why it matters to me, it has been so transformative. It's enabled me to re-engage with the religion that I grew up with, because I got to 19 and I wanted nothing more to do with Christianity, because a lot of the version of Christianity that I'd grown up with felt really toxic. It felt fear promoting, it was kind of inducing fear. It was very judgmental. I know not all versions of Christianity are the same, but the version I grew up with was like that. To remember the words of the confession that I used to say 3 times a week was something like, I'm wicked and sinful because, and there is no health in me because I have followed the ways of my own heart. And I used to recite that as part of the church service 3 times a week. And then I got to 19 and say, I'm not saying that anymore. Well, that sort of language doesn't appear in the Gospel of Mary. So we have a non-judgmental version of Christianity that is based on goodness. It's based on not on original sin, but on an original goodness that is everyone's birthright. The difference is colossal. The difference is colossal. We are all born originally good, not originally sinful. The difference is colossal. It matters to me because it points to a direct connection that we all have with the divine, with God, whatever word you choose to use. Not mediated through a hierarchy of clergy. And that's in each one of us. And if you're ever in doubt about discerning what you're hearing from someone on a matter of truth, a matter of theology, a matter of religion, like the recommendation in the Gospel of Mary is don't look over here. When people say look over here, look over there, don't look inside yourself. So the ultimate authority is within each one of us, and the connection with inner teacher is within each one of us. So that's powerful and that's transformative, and that's very different from what I grew up with. Yeah, there we go. There's a bit of what the Gospel of Mary is. Some categories. It's a historic document. It's terma. It's a hidden treasure teaching. It's a pit instruction. It's really concentrated, focused teachings that are bigger on the inside than on the outside. It's a counter narrative. It's speaking from the sidelines, giving the version of the story that wasn't told for centuries. It's a manual in speaking truth to power and standing up to authority, be that internal things that push us around or external things that push us around. And it is the only known gospel attributed to a woman. So I'll leave it there, and I will pass on to, I think Faye is next. Faye's going to read the next section of the gospel. So thank you for listening.
Just put my audio on. Thank you, David. That was lovely. Yeah, I love those categories that you have. So I'm just going to bring the gospel up and read the next section. The disciples, do not lay down any rules other than what I have given you. Do not establish more laws than the lawmaker, or else you too will be constrained by them. Once he had said these things, he departed from them. The disciples grieved bitterly, shedding many tears, saying, how are we supposed to go out preaching to the rest of the world, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom of the Son of Man? If they did not spare him, then what will become of us? Then Mary rose up she embraced them all, kissing them tenderly, and began to speak to her brothers and sisters. There's no need to remain stuck in sorrow, grief, and doubt, for His grace will be with you all. It will guide you, comfort you, shelter and protect you. Rather, let us be thankful and praise His greatness, for He has brought us together and prepared us for this. Through Him, we too can become fully human. Saying these things, Mary turned their heads inward toward the good, and they began to wrestle with the meaning of the Saviour's words and to discuss His sayings. Then Peter said to Mary, "Sister, we know that you are greatly loved by the Saviour, more than any other woman. Tell us those words of His that you remember, the things which you know we don't, the teachings we never heard." Mary answered, saying, "What is hidden from you, I shall reveal to you. Whatever is unknown to you, and I remember, I will tell you." And she began saying these words to them. She said, "Once I saw the Lord in a vision, and I said to Him, 'Lord, Rabboni,' now I see you in this vision." He answered me and said, "Blessed are you, Mary, for you do not waver at the sight of me. How wonderful you are! For this is where the treasure lies, in that place where heaven and earth meet, where deep understanding arises in the heart and mind, the nous." I asked him, "Now tell me, Lord, how does a person see a vision? Is it through the agency of their psyche or the spirit?" And the Saviour answered, "It's neither through the psyche nor through the spirit, but through the understanding which arises between the two. That is how the vision is seen." Every time I read any part of the Gospel of Mary, like David, I get a new inspiration. And I hope this will be true for you tonight. We'll be reading it in parts. We'll get right through it as we spend our time together. And just notice which particular lines. We're not analysing the Gospel. We haven't got time for that. We have so much to share with you tonight. But just notice which particular lines stick with you on this celebratory day. I'll stop saying so tonight because I know some of you, it's still morning or lunchtime. So I'm going to now share my screen. And so let's see if it works. Oh yes, there it is. Oh, can you see it? And I'm looking for, oh, and can you see this? The pictures? Yeah? Thumbs up? Good, good, good. So I've been asked today, many of you will, I know quite a few of you already have my little book and the cards, which are of my original paintings of Mary Magdalene and the women disciples. And I've been asked to talk about this today and to do some of the practices that I have in my little book. Because with each of the women, I put a quote, a practice, a question, some information, some inspiration, I hope. And the reason that I felt it was so important to bring these women to the light is because we don't hear or speak about the women disciples. Now, these are just a few. These are what are known in the Greek Orthodox tradition as the myrrh bearers. And here we have, from left to right, Mary of Bethany, who is, I know, by many thought to be the same as Mary Magdalene, but in the Orthodox tradition, she's still kept separate. Mary of Bethany, her sister Martha, Susanna, Mary Magdalene, Mary of Cleopas or Mary of James, Joanna, Salome, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. Those are just a few of the inner group, perhaps we may call them. In many of the Gospels, the Nag Hammadi library and other Gospels that have been books that have been found and re-emerged, as David said, as the time when we are ready and able to receive them, when we're not going to get our heads chopped off or burnt at the stake for even thinking or reading this kind of stuff. And we are ready. And I thank you, David, for that little historic context that feminism in a lot of the world has become strong enough to be a holder for these things, to be a container. And so we do not mention women disciples, the follower. They're called followers quite often. What's the difference between a follower and a disciple? Well, that's another question. But the women disciples in a lot of these books that we have found, particularly 7 very close disciples, particularly some of these women here, are very important and leaders of groups. Mary Magdalene, as we know, had her own community. So did Martha. So did Salome, Salome being one of the major teachers of the early Christianity. So in my little book, I've just opened it to the introduction, and it says, "Let their names be spoken and honored. Let their courage and wisdom be acknowledged. Let their stories be told. Let the roots of Western civilization be shaken. Let truth be known." Because at the root of Western civilization is Christianity and all Christian philosophy that has grown up in the last 2,000 years. And if that denies the role of the women, then it's time those roots were shaken. For we know that it was the women who were at the foot of the cross. Jesus wasn't on his own. He did not die alone on the cross. He was surrounded by a group of women who stayed, who were not fearful, who didn't run. The men scattered. I'm not blaming them. Who knows what I would have done in that situation. But these women whose hearts had grown with this incredible transformative teaching that they'd been sharing in, were able to stand and bear the pain and still hold the love and the beauty. And it was they that went with their oils to the tomb, and it was they, along with Mary Magdalene, that were the first to see the risen Christ. And it was they that were filled with awe and trembled at this discovery. Well, there's a lot to say on that, but we have limited time. So what if these women had been the ones to tell the story? What if their tenderness, inner wisdom, and courage had formed the basis of the Christian story? How different would Western culture be today? That's a very good question. Oh, sorry, I asked the question, didn't I? I'm praising myself here. So I've put my picture up so that I can't see the time. So I'm going to look to you, David, if I'm running over at all. Oh, thank you. I've got loads of time. Thank you very much. So I was looking through the book to find a practice that we could share together that would be really important on this night. And there are so many of them that require things like water or oil or paper or paints. But I've chosen one that doesn't. And it's, I'll get on with the, oh, I'm just going to go through those women very quickly because David showed me that I had time. So we have Mary of Bethany, who anointed Jesus with such great knowledge, knowing what was going to happen to him. She anointed him. He went to the cross smelling of spikenard. We have Martha, her sister, who was one of the first, if not the first, I think, to recognize who he truly was, who was courageous, who even pulled Jesus up and she spoke truth to power to her Rabboni. She wasn't afraid to question him when she thought he was not doing what was right. And she was one of the major leaders of early Christian groups. And here we have two of the women that we first find with Mary Magdalene. On the left, Susanna, we know very little about her. And on the right, Joanna, who we know, of course, these are my interpretations of what they looked like, obviously. We know very little about Susanna. We know that Joanna was a very high-flying lady, a very rich lady from the court, from the hated court. And she, with all her money and her jewels and her life of luxury, joined this rag-tangled gang of outcasts on the road because something had touched her heart and her soul. And Susanna, I don't know about her. When I did the painting, she came to me as maybe someone who had come from one of the Isis temples, but you'll hear more about Isis later on with Joseph. Now we have the older women, Mary of Clopas, Mary James. There are a group of older women, and they, I feel, would have been like the, the rock that held this group of traveling disciples, both men and women, that really held them together. We know Mary of James had sons and yeah, anyway, I'm going to go on too much. If I could go into each one of these for hours, but we'll just go through them. Salome is always mentioned together with Mary Magdalene. She was a great teacher, and there are some wonderful psalms and teachings, and I put them together in this painting called The Two Towers because that's how I see them. Mary Magdalene, the tower, and there's a tower that is mentioned in a psalm to Salome. So I see them towering above the landscape, these two great teachers. Oh, we just zipped past the mother of the sons of Zebedee, another very feisty woman. And here I am with two pictures of Mary Magdalene that I've done. On the left, well, I think it'll be on the yellow one, is from an early vision that I had, perhaps through my nous, through the place between matter and spirit, the human, imagine, what's the word? Anyway, it's the human place where we can touch into a deeper truth, where Mary Magdalene was holding out her hand to me, saying, because I couldn't look up at the Christ light, saying, hold my hand, I will help you to look up. The other painting, which is the one that a detail of we're going to focus on, is of Mary Magdalene. I did this painting before the teachings of Magdalene had come to me. I didn't know who it was. I thought, is this a Sufi angel or whatever? And it wasn't until I was taking a photograph of it and the face of this face, which is the detail of that painting, that I really realized who it was through the camera lens. This face looked at me, and it was Mary Magdalene. And this painting has been with me on every live gathering I've had around Magdalene in the UK. So I'm going to share what goes with the card of this painting. First of all, I'll just read it to you, and then I'm going to take us through a little meditative practice. So the quote is something that came to me, a lot came to me through the energy of Mary Magdalene. On now, and know yourself as yourself, beyond yourself. It is too deep for mind knowing. Even heart knowing can only gently touch this. It is my task to guide you to the point of crossing. Let us begin. I will guide you today. It is my task to guide you to the point of crossing. Let us begin. I will guide you today. Can you allow Mary Magdalene to guide you? In the Gospel of Mary, we discover her as a major disciple, a source of inspiration, comfort and strength to the other disciples. We just heard that bit, didn't we? Coincidentally, I just read that bit. Peter asked her to share some wisdom that Jesus gave only to her. She tells him, "What is hidden, I will reveal to you." And she goes on to describe meeting Jesus in a vision and the profound teaching that he shared with her. I encourage you to study the gospel yourself. You may find the language and imagery difficult at first, but with patience and a little help, it can open up a pathway to healing and peace. Saints and seekers throughout the centuries have been inspired and awed by Mary Magdalene, including Francis of Assisi, Julian of Norwich, and many others. Some have taken on a spiritual practice of imagining themselves next to her at the foot of the cross. They've been inspired by her faithfulness and courage to stand and witness the agonizing suffering of her beloved teacher, while the male disciples have fled in fear. She stays steadfast through the darkness and arrives at first light to anoint his body. She is the chosen witness of the resurrection. In our times, with the knowledge we have gained from the hidden Gospels, ancient texts and legends, we're able to uncover many more aspects of Mary Magdalene, the spiritual leader, teacher, guide, comforter, healer, the beloved companion. Most powerful and transforming for me is experiencing her loving energy. And the practice that we're going to do today is a practice I call walking with Magdalene. Another quote. This is my invitation to you. I will hold your hand. I will move your feet. I will open your breath for words, spirit, communication. So this is an invitation for Mary Magdalene to step fully into her energy. It's a wonderful thing to do first thing in the morning, but it's a wonderful thing to do at any time. So let your imaginative powers inform the experience of being in your body and in hers. So I invite you to go with me on a short visualization meditation. Just first of all, let's be in our own bodies fully. Let's just close our eyes if we wish. You can keep them open if you want to keep your eyes on this face, or close your eyes, whichever feels right to you. And just Take a few deeper breaths. And just notice your physical body. Maybe just checking through, noticing without trying to change anything. Your feet and your legs and your lower torso, your upper torso, your back, your spine, arms, hands, fingers, shoulders, neck, head, eyes, mouth, ears. Just notice what you are in this wonderful, precious experience of being in a human body. And just feel your own presence, the presence of your physical body, the presence of your spirit, the presence of your soul connected to the vast soul of all beings. Just feeling your own presence. And as your consciousness expands in this knowing of yourself, open up to the presence of Mary Magdalene, Mariam. Allow this other presence to be with you. You may feel it physically, emotionally. You may visualize her in front of you. And just being with her presence. And her invitation as she lovingly greets you in a way that is just for you, that calls you by your hidden names. And she invites you to step fully into her light body. So first we place our feet, first the left and then the right, into her feet. Feel the energetic connection. Feel that energy that surrounds your feet. And open up to being fully in her light body as you begin to feel your legs being encased by her reviving light. That all that weight you've been carrying all these years is being lightened now. Feeling that reviving light, that courageous love, that beauty that she is. Coming up your torso, your spine. So you step your body, your main torso now is moving into her body. You begin to feel her body encasing your torso in reviving love and light, energy. Filling your belly with courage and your heart with love. Filling your lungs with spirit. And you feel, you put your fingers now and down into her arms like a long glove. Feel your right hand and your left hand, your right arm and your left arm, surrounded by her love. And you let your neck and head be garlanded in her light. As her friend Salome said, garland me in light. So now you feel yourself within her light body. Maybe you'll want to move a hand, move your body slightly, gently moving, perhaps moving your head or a foot or a leg. So you feel yourself moving within her, that she has become a radiant light that is within you and all around you. And let your mind be guided by hers. You may want to try allowing your body to stand or to step, to stretch with this light, with this energy. Just risk moving in this holy, sacred beauty. Just take the risk of allowing yourself to move within this light, within this holy presence. Allowing her mind also to guide yours. So as you move, perhaps some guidance in some form of what your next move is to be. Some holding, some cherishing of you. Feel your heart within her heart, within her great heart, within her heart that is united with Jeshua. Don't forget your feet are still in hers. You are within her body. She holds you and guides you. And so breathe and be with this. And gently now pull this whole energetic experience back into centers of your body, your chakras, your heart, your belly, your third eye, wherever it wants to go. We're pulling this energy back in now and offering deep gratitude to Mary Magdalene. And knowing that we can step here again whenever we wish, whenever we wish. On now, and know yourself as yourself, beyond yourself. It is too deep for mind knowing. Even only heart knowing can only touch this. It is my task to guide you to the point of crossing. Let us begin. I will guide you today. So gently allowing yourself to come back into your normal body consciousness. Taking a few deep breaths, allowing yourself to be here, maybe moving in a more normal way, in a more everyday way, maybe rubbing the hands and having a little shake and a stretch, saying, I'm here, I'm fully here. Thank you, Magdalene, so much for that. Opening up my whole physical being to your presence. I'm back to the time and I actually did it on time. Thank you, Magdalene. Thank you, Magdalene. So after that, you probably need a little bit of time to yourself. We're going to take a break, about 5 minutes, 5 minutes break. a comfort break. And when we come back, you'll have time to share a little of what that experience was for you. If you want to share, you don't have to share. Okay, I'll see you in 5 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. So we're going to have we're going to go into small groups, and as you probably know, when we're in small groups, what you say is not recorded. The rest of this is recorded and for people to be with afterwards. And it's just a chance for us to share what it was like to go into that meditation. And even if it was, well, I completely resisted that, it's not my kind of thing, that's fine. Whatever it is that is there for you. And you do not have to share. You can simply be a listener if you wish. So I think can you put us in groups, David?
Yes. Do you have a sense of like 3 people or 4 people? How many would you like?
I think 3. Brian's put his fingers up for 4. Should we go for 4? Okay, 4 people. You've got to around.
It's saying 3 to 4, so it's
Okay.
how many people are there? Are 56. If I 16 groups, it's 3 or 4. So some will be 3,
Okay.
some will be 4.
Some will be 3, some will be 4. So if you're a 3, you've got 3 minutes each and a little bit of wiggle room. If you're 4, you've got 2 minutes each and plus 2 minutes, so 2.5 minutes each, if you like. And just use that time as you wish. And David will bring us back in
10 minutes.
We did
Okay.
say 10 minutes, but it's less than that. Now it's 8 minutes.
It's 8 minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll set it for 8 minutes. So it'll.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right then. Let's join our rooms.
Hello.
Are you guys wanting to be in the breakout group, or are you preferring not to?
I really don't have anything to say. This is Pam.
Pam? Yeah, there's no obligation. So
I do. I'm sorry, I got bumped out. I don't know. I got bumped back in here. I was in a group with Mary Winters. I don't know who else was coming, but
I can try and send you back. Otherwise, we can just share in this group if you like. Let's see what I can do.
Oh, that isn't. Hello.
Hey up, Soph.
Hi.
Hello. Well, this is the not a breakout group for people that aren't in a breakout group. So
yes, David, I went into one, but there were just 3 names, and no one is willing to be seen, and I can't talk to a black square, I'm afraid. So
that's
I'm back.
understandable.
I am back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's an open space if anyone wants to share in this group. How was that for everyone? The meditative experience.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I'm being called out for some help. So you guys talk amongst yourselves.
Brian, apologies. I'm one of the ones who was in a black screen, and I'm sort of hadn't realized there'd be small groups, and I'm just not ready to. I'm in bed and not ready to share my face. But I had a really it was a wonderful experience for me. Yeah.
That's all that matters. The rest is detail. Yeah. Terrific. I just wait for
this very interesting sensation of this wave-like energy coming from the right across the left part of my body. It was quite just this lovely energy. I haven't felt that before, but
wonderful. Yeah. Well, the spirit has been described as a wind, so maybe you've got some of that. You never know.
I know, and I'm wondering, it almost feels like maybe the right hemisphere of my brain is coming in to sort of
Mm.
quiet the left hemisphere, that thinking brain, the more feeling, creative part just seemed to be coming through.
Yeah.
I was interested right at the beginning. As I said, I'm lying here in bed, and I sort of had my hands on my belly as Faye began, and then later she sort of talked about the belly or the stomach being a center of courage. And at the end, she said something about, where do you feel the energy coming or moving? And it sort of felt like, yeah, things were centered there in my belly. And I'm on the cusp of enormous changes in my life. I've just moved country, and well, I've come back home to Ireland after 20 years of living away, and I am I'm homeless and unemployed and not sure what's going to happen next. But that feeling of just being led by my gut and having courage came through for me.
That's right.
Well, we've got a brain in our gut, we've got a brain in our hearts, we've got a brain in our heads. The three of them.
Yeah. Well, brain, I'm not sure that I like that terminology, but yes. Those centers of how we act in the world, how we interact with the world. Yes.
Very good.
I love that. When I think of Mary Magdalene, I mean, the two words that come to mind are courage and compassion. And I feel like I have a lot of compassion and not so much courage. So I really resonated with what you're saying, Ma. Just she was so courageous.
Gosh, courage and compassion. Yeah. I would kind of relate to that. I feel maybe I have quite a lot of compassion, but sometimes, yeah, not the courage to put it into action. And having taken a bold step of stepping away from security in my life, and not really knowing what the next step is, I suppose, feel maybe that opening towards courage to balance the compassion. So thanks for that, Hilary. That's a really lovely image of those two important centers. Yeah.
I don't think we can expect to get courage out of nowhere. I think we need to be encouraged, and I think we ought to encourage each other.
Here.
You know,
In fact, I was just I'm just 2 weeks back in the country here, and I met a friend the other day, a close friend, an old friend who I haven't seen a lot because I've been living, just across the pond in Britain. But we met, and we were walking in a park, and I just sat and I wept, and I said, "What have I done? What have I done? I'm not sure. Where will I live? How am I going to find employment? What am I going to do?" And absolutely, I agree with you, Brian, the need for encouragement. And my dear friend said to me, "Maud, you are overwhelmed. Of course you're overwhelmed. You've just kind of taken a huge step of courage and moved away from certainty and moved into uncertainty." And she gave me very good advice. She said, "Go down to the country and stay with our other dear friend and take a little time just to be." And so I was encouraged. Yes, courage.
let's forget moving from and to. You've stepped into an authentic space where you don't have to compromise. How's that?
that's something for me to think about. Thank you. Yes. An authentic space. Absolutely. Yeah. And in a way, being able to be with somebody with whom I can just weep and say, I don't know what's what. And to be encouraged by that, in that.
Yeah, authentic is from the old French, genuine, original, and real. And I think if you can't be real, what are you doing? You know, you're floating in a weird space, you know. So it could be untidy, but if it's authentic, terrific.
Right. Are we all back? Are we all joined together again? I don't know how you tell. I can't see David anywhere. Oh, no, here they all come. Yeah. Hi, Lizzie. Nice to see you've joined us. Yeah, I think we're all...
Oh, happy feast day, Faye.
Thank you. So we're just going to take, I don't know, has David come back? David, where are you?
Yes, I'm here. There's two screens, isn't there, Faye?
Oh, there's three of them. Yeah, okay, I can see you now. So we've just got a couple of minutes to just hear a few comments from just maybe 2, 3 at the most people. If you have something that you would like to share with the whole group from what you've received so far, your stuff, not anything you've heard from anyone else, then if you do, just use the little tool where you put your hand up in the React tools. So you just put up your pretend hand. Yep, like that.
Brian's got his hand up there.
Brian, let's...
We'll have to be brief. We'll have to have like no more than a minute each.
Yeah.
Gosh,
So
what
there's a challenge, Brian.
I'll take less than a minute.
Yay.
I find the culture shock of listening to the syntax of the Gospel of Mary so different from the other Gospels. I have to really totally concentrate, and I'm in another universe when I listen to it. The construction of the sentences is just incredible. I haven't got words for it. That's all.
Thank you, Brian. That's fantastic. Thank you. And you know, when I first read of the Gospels in the Nag Hammadi Gospel, it was like trying to read Mandarin without any lessons. So it takes a while, and when it opens up to you, it's fantastic. Any other hands up? No, I can't see any.
Susan Roberts has her hand up. Susan,
oh, thank you.
You need to unmute, Susan.
So
Susan, you'll need to
since
unmute.
since no one else volunteered, I'm working on a 4-book series based on the Gospels told from the David's already heard this, the vision of the Blessed Mother told in first person, set in 22nd century Maine. And so for me, that practice was really wonderful because I too tried to get into the characters and try to imagine them, that story in a whole nother era, and writing hope for the apocalypse, as it were. And so it was a wonderful practice, and a chance to get to know Mary Magdalene, Maggie in the series. The first book is published, the rest is not.
Oh, well, look out for that. We will look out for it. What's it called?
It's called Lupe's Story.
Lupe's Story. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks, Susan. Thank you. Maud, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. Please forgive me for not coming on screen. But I just wanted to say that during the meditation, I really felt centered in my stomach, and then you related the stomach to courage, and I sort of feel courage. I have been showing courage in completely changing my life recently, but I feel the need of a lot more courage. And so that just really spoke to me. So thank you.
Thank you. We've got 2 more people with hands up, so I'm just going to take them very quickly. I know we need to move on, David, but we'll just take these 2. Yeah, there's MF. It's MF.
You hear me okay?
No, can you get closer to your speaker or?
Yeah, I'm very sorry. Is that better?
Not really, can't really hear you. I'm so sorry.
No, I'll try to be better.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, Sarah, can we hear from you then, please? Sarah Gaddy Williamson.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes, fine.
Okay, I'll just share very quickly. I had to step out of the car and grab a sandwich because I'm on my lunch break. But I was in this restaurant sort of trying to do my best to be in the meditation and loving it very much. I walked over to the window and it began to rain. And I'm not exactly sure what specific words you had said, but something about, feeling her energy, feeling her embodiment. And in that moment, there was a giant clash of lightning in the sky, so large that for about a millisecond, the entire strip mall energy went out. And then everything was back on and the song changed, which was great because I wasn't really vibing with the current song that was on. And anyway, just this big burst of beautiful yellow golden light in the sky. So I had to share that. Thank you. I'm enjoying this so much.
That's wonderful. And as I said to Joe, who's going to be giving you such a treat next, every time I used to try and look up stuff about ISIS on the internet, all the electricity, well, not every time, it happened twice, all the electricity in my home went until I was ready, until I was strong enough to deal with her. So that's it. I'm going to hand over to Joe now, who's going to do a reading from the gospel and then share some of her wonderful storytelling.
Thanks, Faye. So, so we're picking up the gospel from after the missing pages, so the 4 pages that are missing from the middle, starting again on page 15. And Craving spoke. I didn't see you descending, but now I see you rising up. Who are you fooling? You're controlled by me. The soul responded, my friend, it is you who were mistaken. I saw you, but you never really saw me or knew me. You mistook the cloak I was wearing for my true self, so you didn't recognize me. Having said all this, the soul went away joyfully. Again, the soul came into the realm of the 3rd authority, which goes by the name of ignorance. This scrutinized the soul closely and interrogated it, saying, where do you think you're going? You are the slave of malicious habits, trapped and held prisoner by your own wicked inclinations. You lack discrimination, so your judgment is unsound. The soul said, why are you so critical of me, even though I have not been judgmental? I have been dominated and have lacked my own agency. I was never recognized for my true self, but now I have recognized this, that everything is impermanent. The whole of creation will be dissolved. All worldly things, all heavenly things, everything passes. Everything will be released. Liberated from the realm of the 3rd authority, the soul continued and came face to face with the 4th, the authority of wrath. This took on 7 fearful manifestations. The first was everything obscured. The second was craving. The third, ignorance. The fourth, the longing for oblivion. The fifth, enslavement to the demands of the body. The sixth was foolish worldly wisdom. The seventh, the hot-tempered certainty of anger. These formed the sevenfold authority of wrath, which interrogated the soul, demanding, "Where do you come from, murderer? And where do you think you're going, deserter?" The soul responded, "It is what dominated me that has been vanquished, and what was steering me has been overcome. It's my craving that has come to an end, and my ignorance has died. I have been set free from one world with the aid of another world, from one pattern through the moulding and shaping of a greater pattern. I have been liberated from the chains of forgetfulness, which are both temporary and temporal. From this moment on, now and for all seasons, I am released into silent restfulness, where time rests in the eternity of time." After saying these things, Mary settled into silence, that place of sanctuary to which the Saviour's words had brought her. But Andrew responded and said to the brothers and sisters, "Tell me, what do you think about all that she has been telling us? Say what you will, but I for one don't believe that the Saviour would have said such things. Certainly these are unorthodox teachings. It all seems quite different from his way of thinking." After some consideration, Peter responded in a similar way. He questioned the brothers about the Saviour. Did he really speak secretly with a woman and not openly so that we could all hear? Are we just going to turn around and listen to her? Did he really choose her and prefer her to us? Surely he wouldn't have wanted to show that she is more worthy than we are. So I'm going to speak to you for a little bit about Isis. Yeah, somebody's put a emoji up there on their screen. Indeed, it is, isn't it? That part of the gospel is very much a feeling. Yeah. So I want to speak to you a little bit about Isis, the Egyptian goddess Isis, and her connection to Mary Magdalene, or the connection between Mary Magdalene and Egypt in general. And I'm always aware when we're in the realm of Magdalene, when we're in the realm of Mary, we're in the realm of multiple narratives and counter narratives and counter narratives, and the realm of fragments. Lacuna was a word that David used earlier, gaps. So all of that is always present when Mary is here. And so what I'm offering is a kind of, I guess, a kind of mythological perspective on Mary Magdalene and how she came to into my life in tandem with Isis. So the two of them came quite closely together. And so a lot of the work that I've done to work out what this connection is, some of it has been historical research, some of it has been looking at the archaeology and the history of the kind of coming of Christianity into Egypt, etc. But a lot of it is also grounded in a kind of comparative mythological process, I suppose, where the myth of Isis and Osiris, which I will tell you a version of in a moment, is held in the inner realm and in a creative process with the story of Yeshua and Miriam with Mary and Jesus. So the two of these kind of templates, these narratives sort of fizzing around together in a creative process, and what has come out of that. So some of you will have seen The Witness or maybe heard me talking, but I first came to Mary Magdalene through a visionary experience or a numinous encounter with what I came to recognize as Isis. So I saw and experienced a being that was feathered and winged, that was behind me, but I could also see. And it was quite a lengthy experience, but lengthy by about 30 minutes. And it was in the middle of the day, and I hadn't done anything to look for this experience. So it came to me like a wave crashing on my shore. I was just out walking in the middle of the day, and this happened. And it was a very frightening experience. I think numinous in that true sense of the word, of it being awe-inspiring, trembling. It made me tremble. And what it did was set me on a process of trying to work out what was this being that I had seen or experienced, that at first I thought was an angel because I could make out feathers along the edge of outstretched wings. But very soon afterwards, the word Isis came to me, and that, just like when you know when something, it's like a bell of truth, sort of told, and I realized, okay, this was Isis, and I started to research about Isis and Osiris, brother and sister, husband and wife. And as part of that research, discovering Isis, I came across Mary Magdalene, and there are many texts around relating Mary as being part of a kind of lineage of priestesses who may have been trained in the arts of the Isis priestess line. So Isis, before the coming of Christ, before the coming of Jesus and the image of the cross and Christianity, Isis was the most worshipped deity in the world. Her temples spread for thousands of miles. So she was known, and you know, she's often called the goddess of many names. She had many, many names, but this image of Isis spread for thousands of miles. She is associated with devoted love, healing, magic, alchemy, anointing. So these are the attributes and the practices of Isis. And so those that lived in her temples and worked in her temples would have been embedded with all of those religious practices. So of course, there's much material that relates Mary to those temples in some way, and various bits of channeled material that have brought through versions of Mary or templates of Mary where she speaks very intricately about practices of Egyptian alchemical practices. So there's all of that. But I think for tonight, what I want to really focus on is the myth itself, the story of Isis and Osiris, and how it relates to Miriam and Yeshua. So who is Isis? So we have to go back, way, way, way back to the beginning, when all of creation was still so young, when all the created world that is spoken of in Mary's Gospel was still full of flecks and space. Nothing had quite yet set and settled. It was all still so much in process. In that place, in those very, very early times, there was Father Earth, Geb, and there was Mother Sky, Nut. Nut, goddess of all of the heavens, all of the stars, all of the swirling cosmos, everything that was up there. and Geb, father of all that was earthy and growing down below. But the two of them were so close together. They were close together because they loved each other. And all was one in their two-ness in that very beginning. But space was needed. The greater gods pulled Geb and Nut apart. And between them, between the goddess of sky and between the god of earth, between them arose a longing. And out of that longing, Nut became pregnant. She became pregnant with 4 children: Nephthys, Set, Osiris, and Isis. 2 girls and 2 boys. And already in the womb, more than that, because Nephthys and Set, they became lovers. And Isis and Osiris, they became lovers. 2 couples already swimming around in the primordial womb of the goddess of night. They were born. And Isis and Osiris became like the sun and the moon. Isis, you will have seen her, I'm sure, with great wings that stretch out. She could cast whole deserts into shadow under one great wing. Osiris was god of all that was green and fecund and growing. He was the shoots that came up every spring after the Nile had inundated the black mud. Nephthys, we will leave to another day. Her stories run in a different direction, but Set, he also belongs to this story, because Set was everything that Osiris was not. Whereas Osiris was fecund and strong, Set was dry, god of deserts. He was stormy. He rattled the earth with earthquakes. His brow was heavy, and he was jealous. Some say he had a grudge against Osiris from the very moment that he was born, because Osiris had kicked him in the womb. Some say he was jealous because people admired Osiris, because wherever Osiris walked, if a vine was withered, it would grow again just in his presence. But most of all, Set was jealous because Isis loved Osiris. She doted on him. She gave Osiris all of her heart's love, and Set wanted that for himself. So Set devised a plan to be rid of Osiris. He had a sarcophagus made, a great golden sarcophagus encrusted with jewels, and he had it made exactly to the dimensions of Osiris's body. Then Set held a great feast. He invited everyone to come. 79 apparently came at the beginning of time to Set's feast. And to all of the people at the feast, after they had eaten and drunk for hours and hours, he said, "I have an offer." And he pulled out the sarcophagus into the middle of the room, and he said, "Anyone whose body fits this sarcophagus can have it and be buried in great opulence and honor at the end of the days to my great expense. Who will try?" Well, one guest after another climbed into the sarcophagus, but when the lid was closed, it didn't fit them. There was always an inch or a centimetre, or something was out of place, a foot stuck out. And finally, Osiris climbed into the sarcophagus. Osiris shone like the sun. He climbed in, and when the lid was shut, it was as if the sun had gone out. Set closed the lid, locked it, dragged it outside, threw it into the Nile. And the waters of the Nile carried the sarcophagus down the Nile and caught on the bank among some reeds. Instantly, a tree wrapped around it, and it was hidden. Isis wept. Where was her husband? Where was the brother with whom she had shared a womb? Where was her partner, her beloved, the one whom she walked creation with? She went searching for him. She unfolded her wings. See her now, flying through the night sky, at the beginning of time, weeping and searching. From high up among the stars, Isis looked down. She saw a tree, shivering strangely. She flew down and landed next to the tree, and in amongst a crack in the bark, a golden light. Isis, with her goddess fingers, she tore open the bark of the tree, and there was the sarcophagus. She pulled it out, opened the lock, threw up the lid, and Osiris rose out like the morning sun. Isis wept and embraced her husband, her brother, her lover. The two of them returned together. Well, if Set had been jealous before, now he was humiliated. Some stories say that he turned himself into a wild beast and in fury fell upon Osiris. Some say he went to Osiris as he slept, and with blades of silver, he cut the god's body to pieces. Either way, Osiris was broken and dismembered. And the parts of Osiris's body Set flung to the corners of the world. And now Isis wept once again, on her knees, weeping and grieving for her lost husband. But such was that courage, such was that power in the belly, such was the strength of her great wings, that she unfurled them, and once again she flew from one side of the world to the other, searching for every piece of her lost partner. And Isis, being the goddess that she was, she found all of the pieces of her husband's body, all of the pieces she gathered back, all of the bones she put together, all of the skin she knitted together. She laid it all there in front of her, every single piece except one. The mighty phallus of the god. Where was it? Goddess Isis went to the bank of the Nile, and she took handfuls of the thick black mud. And out of that first mud, that primordial mud, she made a new phallus for her dead husband. And as he lay there, lifeless, on the bank of the river, Isis, she climbed on top of him and she made love to him. And something miraculous. Into her womb, his seed, even in his death, planted in her a child, the child Horus. In that moment, Osiris was resurrected. The two of them, Isis and Osiris, like the sun and the moon, face to face, together again, but just fleeting. Osiris had known too much death to ever stay in the same realm as Isis, and so in that moment, Osiris descended. Still, he lived down beneath the ground. Still, he was the green shoots that came up every spring. Still, you can see him in the fields, moving as corn. Still, you can see him in the vine, but also down there, God of the underworld, among the dead. And Isis, she took her place up among the heavens, with the great wingspan of Isis spreading across the whole of the horizon, glinting and golden and looking down. And that child, Horus, he went on to live many stories, but we'll pick up on that a little bit later. So, Isis and Osiris. The anthropologist Claude Levi-Strauss, he says, he has a wonderful quote, myths think themselves in man unbeknownst to man. So I want to think about this myth of Isis and Osiris living itself through Mary. And Mary as carrying the activity, the archetype, the energy, the template of Isis in the flesh and in action. So from the very earliest formation of us, of humans, there's been this template of the sacred couple, the sacred marriage, the two. And I think what's really interesting about this particular myth is that it is the male figure, Osiris, who holds the receptive energy. And it's the female figure of Isis who is active. She is active in the process of resurrecting, of remembering and rebirthing. And in that way of thinking about Mary and Jesus from a mythic perspective, it brings me into touch with Jesus and his submission to the cross and the active power of Mary's witnessing gaze. So there's something about the gaze of Mary Magdalene, the power that she holds simply through bearing witness. And obviously she wasn't on her own, as Faye has brought in as well today, you know, all of those other female disciples that were there. But there's something about the clarity and the power of Mary's gaze that for me evokes the same active remembering and doingness of Isis. That somehow her gaze creates the temenos or the vas, the container of transformation. So there's this wonderful quote from Cynthia Bourgeau's book, The Meaning of Mary Magdalene, which I'm sure many of you have read. And if you haven't, then do, because I think it's one of the best books on Mary Magdalene. I've got a kind of quite a lengthy quote, but I want to read it to you because I think it holds this sense of this, the kind of the tension that it is existing between Mary and Jesus, and that active role of the witness, which for me is very resonant with Isis, the role that Isis plays. Now, Cynthia Bourgeau doesn't talk about Isis, so I'm putting these things together, but this is the quote. So Cynthia Bourgeau writes, "And so it is love standing at the foot of the cross. Love following the small entourage that takes his body from the cross and places it in the tomb. Love holding vigil when everyone else has gone home. Not just a pious disciple or distraught camp follower, but Jesus's Quinones, his uniquely beloved partner, with their hearts now stretched taut to accommodate the vast distance that has suddenly opened up between them. And it is love that remains there for those entire 3 days, for where else is there to go? Holding his tether like falcon and falconer as he descends into the underworld. The sheer tenacity of her presence is not the result of ordinary human courage, or even the detached equanimity of one who has attained to his level of mastery. It is an act of substituted love. As instant by instant she gives herself that he might be well. For those 3 days she holds in her own heart all that death has left unresolved in him. The swirling events of that final week, the anguish of betrayal and abandonment, the wrenching final, my God, why have you abandoned me? She takes his anguish into her own heart so that he might travel freely to accomplish the cosmic task he has been given to do. Which is, so back to me now, the quote ended. So, which is, you know, a vital role, and a vital role which I think has been completely missed in the kind of conventional interpretation of Christianity. So just the last thing I want to say, I know I've only got 5 minutes left, which is that, as David mentioned, the 3 gospel fragments that have been found in Egypt. So there's something about a connection to Egypt with the gospel itself as well. And if we think about that story of Isis and Osiris as being the kind of mythological hinterland of the Egyptian psyche, and then into that comes this story of Miriam and Yeshua, the man on the cross and the woman witnessing it. To me, there's no wonder there's something in the Egyptian psyche and in the Egyptian culture saw in Mary what they knew already in Isis. So there's already a familiarity with an alchemical goddess, an active feminine principle. And so into this place, this version of Christianity, Mary's gospel plants itself literally by being buried in the ground. And in that place, in the culture of Isis, Isis's name, when it's written in hieroglyph, uses the hieroglyph of a throne, the image of a throne. So Isis is the throne. And in this wonderful book called Isis and the Ancient World by Ari Witt, there's a quote where he says, in all the Osirian mythology, Isis as the throne exerts a unifying and steadying influence, which of course makes me think of Mary the tower, the throne and the tower, and Mary is this unifying and steadying influence. And in that book that I just mentioned, Isis in the Ancient World, he actually goes so far as to call Isis the great forerunner of Christ. That everything that she is associated with becomes associated with Christ and his teachings in some way. And actually, he writes a bit in that book about a monk in the 1600s, an Italian monk, Giordano Bruno, who was killed as a heretic in 1600 for declaring that Christianity was powerful but not unique, and that the religion of Isis was the forerunner. So I want to just leave you with this quote because I think it gives a really good image, a kind of link between the Isis story and Mary Magdalene, and this image of her role and why it's important to remember it. So just bear with me while I find it. Here it is. So this is from one of the channeled, some of the channeled material by Claire Nahmed and Margaret Bailey, The Secret Teachings of Mary Magdalene. So there's this one particular bit here. She says, Jesus represented the outer, active, positive principle of the Christ being, whilst Mary was its still, secret, unseen, intuitive vessel. It is easy to misinterpret these words because our culture attaches so much importance to what is active and positive. In fact, when the expression of these qualities is one-sided, understood only from the masculine aspect, they become self-destructive. Mary was also active, but her action was on the subtle, unseen planes of reality. She was also positive, completing the circuit of consciousness from the other side, the veiled side of awareness. We call this form of giving a negative force, but no mistaken concepts or preconceived ideas of the term as it is conventionally applied should attach to our understanding of it. And this is the image that I think is important. When a battery creates a circuit of power, we use the power rather than futilely separating its current into moralistic ideas of good and bad, strong and weak, black and white. Without the so-called negative contribution, the positive force is impotent. The simple idea of the circuit a battery produces and the mysteries of the hieros gamos, the sacred marriage, might prove useful in gaining an enlightened understanding of Mary's role in Jesus' mission, and answers the question as to why the outer realities seem to revolve solely around him. It also illuminates the true meaning of the great myth of Isis and Osiris, wherein, after Osiris's death and mutilation, Isis wanders grieving upon the face of the world, devotedly collecting together the scattered pieces of her beloved consort's body, until at last she has assembled the whole except the penis. She then constructs a penis from her own magic and conceives a child fathered by Osiris via its agency. The child is Horus, and what they call Horus is the Christ consciousness that is born from the two. So I'm aware that that's all big stuff, and I've just sort of put it all in there in half an hour as much as I can. So I hope that some of that resonates and is of interest. And I think that's the end of what I want to say. And I'm going to pass back over to you, David, for the final part of the gospel. That's right, isn't it?
It's right. Yeah, thanks very much, Joe. And I mean, as last year, your talk is really dense and jam-packed. And I found that I went back over it several times. And so just a reminder that this is being recorded, and so there'll be a link being sent out to watch the recording yourselves. So I'd sort of recommend that, definitely. So we're on to the last page of the gospel, page 18. Then Mary wept. She said to Peter, "My brother, Peter, what are you thinking? Do you really believe that I made all this up, or that I would tell lies about our Saviour?" Levi also responded to Peter, saying, "Peter, you have always been hot-tempered from the beginning, and now we see you arguing against this woman as though you were her adversary. Yet, if the Saviour deemed her worthy, indeed, if he himself has made her worthy, then who are you to despise and reject her? Surely the Saviour's appraisal of her is completely reliable. That is why he loved her more than us. Brothers, we should be ashamed of our behaviour. Let us cloak ourselves with true humanity. We too can follow his instructions and cultivate this in ourselves. Let us do as we were instructed and proclaim the good news the Saviour taught, never laying down any rules or laws beyond what he himself gave." And after Levi had said these things, they started going out to teach and to proclaim the gospel according to Mary Magdalene. Oh, thank you all. And listening to Joe read this or give us an account of the story of Isis and Osiris, isn't she a marvelous storyteller? I mean, I was completely enthralled. And if you haven't already seen The Witness, I'd really recommend. So part of what this evening is about, or this daytime session is about, is to fundraise to get the performance of The Witness back out on the road again. Amazingly, we've raised £1,500 this evening, which is wonderful news. And there's also a crowdfunder, and we'll send out links to that. So Joe has a couple of times applied. Joe did get Arts Council funding for the R&D stage of it, and and for a year-long project. And then I was with Joe on one very memorable day at Avebury when the news came through that they weren't then following that up, and Arts Council funding is getting harder and harder to get. And so the idea for this evening came from, well, hey, let's not wait, just get it out there, and find different ways to fund getting the show back out on the road again. So that's the intention of this. There is a recording. There's a linked recording, both of the first version you did from Northampton, I'm going to say, yeah, and then also from last year at Oxford Storytelling Festival. There's another. So encourage everyone to follow that and to give generously in the crowdfunder. And Brian has just very helpfully popped a link in the chat. So thanks for that, Brian. Bit more blatant advertising, which is that we were all together for a small retreat at Hillfield Franciscan Friary in Dorset, UK, over Imbolc. We had a couple of days at Imbolc, end of January, beginning of February, and we'll be repeating that this year. And Brian, I can see there was one of our number, but also we sort of felt, well, it's there's a lot of there's a lot of interest in the States. A lot of people here today coming from the other side of the pond, and so we'd like to offer a much bigger, a longer retreat midsummer next year, because you're not going to want to come over just to join us for a weekend, but we're thinking of doing something during summer solstice, and that will include hopefully something to do with the witness. I think that's sort of there's conversations to have around that. So Faye and Joe and myself will be running a retreat next midsummer, and that will include an option to go to Stonehenge for Midsummer Day, or to go to Stanton Drew Stone Circle. So details of that will be out soon. Also more advertising. I'm all out of the advertising. All right. Faye's practice comes from a little book and a set of cards, which will include a link to that. And that little book is absolute diamond. It's full of, if anyone's sort of involved with running groups, it's full of years of experience crammed into a little booklet that is just like a joy to use in group practice. So I'd flag that up. And big thanks to everyone for coming. Really massive thanks to everyone for coming this evening to celebrate the feast day of Mary Magdalene together. So with that said, I'll pass over to Faye to lead us out. Thank you, everyone.
So we offer the thanks from our hearts for each other's presence here, for our own particular light rays. We offer our thanks to the energy and presence of Mary Magdalene and Jeshua and all those beings of light and resonance with peace. And we ask that this peace and this light, unconditional love and joy, go out into the world from this gathering today and bless and comfort where it's needed. So it is. Amen.